Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be chatting about all sorts of things. So if that would be of interest to you, then stick around. Right, the first thing that I have been thinking about is how I can improve this channel. Well, it's usually the thing that I'm talking about these days, and I really want it to be a place where it feels like we've just gone into a coffee shop, we've sat down, we've made our order, we're waiting for our coffees to arrive, and then we start catching up. Now, I appreciate that this is a little bit one-sided because I'm the only person that's talking, but you can talk in the comments and tell me what you've been up to. And also, I've noticed that I actually do enjoy those sort of channels myself. In particular, I enjoy Tracy from Life in the Wild West. As you know, I love her channel because it's just like that. You find out what she's been up to and what her family is doing. And the other channel that I've been really into as well is Kentucky Life with Debbie, because she does that and her subscribers are growing massively. And it's not because of any fancy editing, it's just that she is really amusing. And she talks about her channel, and she talks about her life and her daughter, her adoptive daughter, and her husband, and what's going on and so forth. And I do enjoy that. So I think that is the way this channel is going to go. There might be a time when I find some super duper subject that I really want to highlight and get the message out, and then I'll do a video about it. In future, it's going to be a catchy chat up in our virtual coffee shop. And I do hope you'll enjoy that. The next thing is that I was going to schedule a live for this Thursday, and then I remembered I'm going to have a small operation on Thursday, so I probably won't be well enough to do it. So I've scheduled it for the week of, I scheduled it for Thursday the 24th of July at 8 p.m. UK time. So I hope to see you there. In the meantime, if you have anything that you would like me to answer, then start writing the questions down and I'll do my best. This week, I've been hooked on a channel. Not that I would ever think of moving over to France, but it's about all these people who have moved to France for their retirement. One lady from, where was it? I think it was New Zealand. She moved over there on her own, which I think is brave. She moved over there on her own to set up her life, and she's really, really happy because she didn't have enough money to buy a house in New Zealand in the country. Well, in the countryside. It would have been too expensive. But in France, you do get a lot of money for your, you do get a lot for your money. You know, houses certainly are bigger and not nearly as expensive as they are in the UK. And obviously New Zealand, according to her. So she moved and she's very happy. I think that's incredibly brave. Another lady who moved, she moved from America. She was 74, little old lady. She had a YouTube channel called The Little Old Lady That Does, or The Little Old Lady That Thinks and Does. But somehow she wanted to delete a video, or no, she had two channels apparently. And she wanted to delete the channel that she wasn't using. So she went on to YouTube, I think it was YouTube, and she deleted that channel. But she deleted both her channels. And although she tried to get help and everything, there was no going back, which, considering she did have an awful lot of subscribers, was tragic. I mean, I can't imagine how she must have felt. It would be just the worst thing when you've worked so hard to get your channel up and running and successful, and then you go and delete it by accident. So if you're ever thinking of doing that, be really, really careful. That said, she decided that she wanted to go and move to France. And she got this bee in her bonnet. When her husband was alive, they used to do reenactments. And she did sewing and baking and all sorts of bits and bobs. And she was a very handy person, making things and fixing things around the house. So anyway, probably that's why her title was as it was. The little old lady who does. Anyway, she started searching, and then she got in touch with this company called, let me think. Then she got in touch with this company who sources property and deals with everything if you want to move to France. So she got in touch with French Connections HCB, and she told them what she wanted, and they even sorted out a vehicle for her. Because, I mean, listen to this for a 74-year-old lady. She wanted a small sort of van-like car because, as she said, if I want to move bags of cement and things like that, and I'm thinking, gosh, you're tiny, you're 74, how are you going to move bags of cement and all that sort of thing in a car? But she did. Anyway, she's very resourceful. So she gets this, when she arrives very early in the morning, and nobody was there with her keys to this house that she'd bought. She'd only seen it on the internet, but she loved it. It was a mid-terrace and needed a lot of work doing to it, but she was up for the task, even at 74. Later on in the morning, up comes the man with the key to the house, and she goes in and she sees it for the first time, and some work had been done, but it had been left, with lots of workman materials in it, but large mounds of plasterboard, all that sort of thing. But it didn't faze her. She moved in, and she was helped. The company that found the house for her were also able to find people who will work on her house for her. I mean, they really were the complete deal. I can understand why, if you were looking for a house in France or somewhere like that, then you would need a company like that to help you through not just all the legal process, because it's very different in France, but also finding workmen, finding people to do work in your home, things like that, what you should do, where you had to go to get a mobile, because you do have to have a French mobile, but before you can have a French mobile, you have to have a bank account. So you're talked through everything you need to get your life started. So I thought that was very clever, if you were thinking of it. And I've no idea why I found this subject so fascinating. I suspect it's because in another life, I imagine myself speaking French. Because it's not because I think it's a superb language. It's just a language, but it sounds nice. And, that's it. It does sound lovely. Even when people from France speak with a French accent, I think, oh gosh, doesn't it sound lovely? Anyway, I cannot speak French. My darling boy can speak French. And a couple of years ago, there was a program called Escape to the Chateau, DIY. And it was, I think the main characters, or it was where the main character of Escape to the Chateau would help other chateau owners fix their places up, give them advice. Anyway, there was this one young woman who was, I think she was an opera singer actually, and she had the most enormous chateau. I mean, it was just gigantic. Can you imagine heating that place? Anyway, she arrived in this place and gradually she was doing it up. It must have been just a money pit, frankly. And she got her mother to come over to stay at the chateau. And her mother was being helped by this small Scottish man. I can't remember what his name was, but he would help too. And in one program, the mother, who was French, wanted to refurbish the massive bread oven. And so she climbed in it, brave woman, and then when the Scottish man, I think it was when the Scottish man had climbed in it, she said to him, "Ne touchez pas le plafond." Now, clearly, I remembered it. However, it is the only phrase I can say, albeit rather well, I think. But you can't go around your entire life living in France saying, please don't touch the ceiling, can you? I mean, how far is that going to get you? Not very far. So, but my darling boy can speak French fluently, like a French person, accent a lot. So that wouldn't be a problem for him if we ever decided, which we won't, because I like living here. However, these people are going over there. They're going over there a lot more since the last election. I listened to one of these organisers saying, when asked if politics had come into their reason for moving, and 64% said yes, apparently. There you go. So, yes, I find people who are going over there, especially those ones that don't speak French, very brave. I think I would find it, no, I don't think, I know that I would find it very worrisome if I could not speak the language, because I couldn't rely on my darling boy all the time, could I? I couldn't have him coming to the shops and having to translate. That would just be a nonsense. Anyway, not that I'm considering moving over to France or suggesting that you do too, but yes, it was very interesting, quite fascinating to see people being brave and making the move. And yes, they do get a big living accommodation for a much smaller amount of money. And that could be a reason. The other thing about that old lady who went over to France at 74, she's been there 5 years now. She made up her mind, she bought the property, and she hadn't even told her family. She told her family when she was ready to move. I mean, goodness. That's the other reason I couldn't move abroad, because I would miss my family too much, and I want to be around to support them all the time, and you can't really do that. I couldn't do Katie's washing every week from France, could I? So it's really a no-go for me, but she was that determined to go. she did it anyway before her family could have any input. I watched a video this morning because I do that. I support the channels that I support, and I watched a live with Karen from YouTube Over 40, Brenda at Busy After 60, Susan at Artfully Becoming, and Noel, who is the Gen X girl. And one of them, and don't ask me who because I really can't remember, but one of them said that they click the button on their videos to say they are suitable for children. Well, I don't do that because I don't think any child would like to sit and watch one of my videos. It would just be boring, wouldn't it? You know, I'm not a Power Ranger or anything like that. But she clicks on that, and I thought, I'm sure that I read somewhere, if you click the children's button, then you don't get as many advertisers that would want to advertise on your channel, because after all said and done, children don't have the power of the purse, do they? They might have pester power, but really, they don't have spending power, and it's spending power that these advertisers want. I listened to Noelle talking about her video that was quite successful when she got laid off from work, and it reminded me of when my own father, well, he would be my own father, would he, retired from the army after being a lifetime soldier. And he was so without a cause, he decided to dig up the entire, I suppose it was a sort of walkway down the side of his house and his back garden, and remove all the builder's rubble from underneath the soil. It was an absolutely gigantic task, and he spent weeks and weeks shifting all this rubble. It made no difference to how his plants grew, but he, I think, needed a purpose. And that's what he did. The other thing is that I've got an ongoing battle with squirrels and foxes coming into my garden. I never used to mind them before we had a brand new lawn laid the year before last. And as soon as that lawn was laid, the squirrels moved in, they started pulling up the turf, digging holes. I mean, they are total garden wreckers, squirrels. I've named them as a collective Roger the Wrecker, because they do wreck my garden on an ongoing basis. And the foxes are also digging up my lawn and weeing everywhere and making the grass yellow, which is irritating, and pooing down my path. And it's always, it's not even solid, it's horrible. So yes, I thought, no, I'm going to have to do something about this. So I was speaking to the irrigation man that came round the other day and complaining about the foxes having chewed through 2 of my irrigation pipes again. And he said, "Do you have a dog?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Do you have a cat?" And I said, "No, I don't have any animals." So he said, "Okay, get some of these." And he sent me a link for some fox and small animal deterrents, and they are infrared, they flash, and they also make an inaudible sound for humans, but audible to dogs and small animals, when the deterrent is tripped. So I've ordered 6, and I've got them dotted around, and I don't know if they're working yet. I will have to see. If my lawn starts improving, then I'll know. But it's quite interesting to see. Sometimes I can see the little light flashing and I think, oh, something's walked past there, and not come into the garden, which is wonderful. They don't work on birds because I don't want them to work on birds. So they're just for larger animals. But you can even get them for birds. I suppose if you were besieged by pigeons, which poo everywhere, then you might want one. But I'll let you know how I'm getting on with my war against those two small animals that come into the garden and wreck it. I don't think I could afford to keep on doing the grass because I know they'd dig it up again. I got a message from one of my friends, and her name is Dee Dee. And she said she would love to know how I became so tenacious and so driven to have had successful businesses. And I think I might make a video about that. Suffice to say, I am driven. Katie is driven. I think she gets that from me. I am doggedly determined to get to where I want to go. Even when I am struggling, I am still doggedly determined. And yes, I think I might make a video about that. And the last thing is, those mid-roll ads that I'm trying desperately not to have so many in my videos. It is way more difficult than you would imagine. I just thought that if I clicked off that button and added a video at say 5 minutes and then one at 10 or something like that, mid-roll, and then I could just carry on. But it's not like that. The other day I spent nearly 30 minutes trying to find one part of the video I could put an advertisement in. Just one. It took me so long because you find the marker to put your video, maybe one at 5 and one at 10 or something like that, and you click on it and you think that's done, and then you go back and you see it's not going to run because you haven't found the right spot that YouTube wants it at. So you move it a little bit and it goes from red to black, and you think, oh good, that's okay, and you hit next. And then you go back again, and there it is, it's gone red again. After nearly half an hour of doing this for just one advert, and eventually getting the place that was deemed okay, I couldn't face doing it for another advert. So I might give up that as too much stress. I do need to earn money from this channel for Jack and Lily. I have made sure that my preferences for mid-roll ads are medium. Not that they're going to be every couple of minutes or anything like that, It doesn't make for a nice experience, but I've made sure that that bit has been clicked, so it's only medium. And that way, both Jack and Lily will be able to earn money from this channel, and I will be able to support them going forward in their education. I hope you don't mind. And if you got this far, thanks ever so much for watching. And if you wouldn't mind liking and sharing, that would be brilliant. Lots of love. Bye-bye.